Hello students, how are you? Uh, Today we are going to start our second lecture. I suppose first lecture is already conducted and you have already understood the paper pattern and what are the things which are installed for you in history. We have also started the first chapter, that is historiography development in the West. Today we will do the revision of it and we will move ahead. We started with historiography development in the West with four important points in the lessons: tradition of historiography, modern historiography, as well as scientific perspective in Europe and notable scholars in Europe. Now, when we move down to the next slide, we have seen that we had three questions in the mind. This year we are going to learn about a new topic. What is that new topic? That is historiography. When we are telling that it's a new topic or it's a new concept, let us understand what is that concept first. Now students, you all know that history is the study of past, correct? But what happened in the past? Do we all know it? Or are we able to get all the details correctly? That is the question. Now, when we are not sure that whatever details are available to us from the past, it is correct or wrong, then what we do is we try to evaluate it. So historiography is basically a concept of evaluation. Now we will ask, what is evaluation? It is very simple. You give test in the exams, that means you have been evaluated by your school. The teacher evaluates you. Same way, historical research, when it is done, it needs to be evaluated whether they are true or false. So this evaluation is done how? It is done in a very critical manner. Now the word critical comes from the word critics, that means highlighting the negative aspect. That means whenever you get a new research done, or when you get an old findings about the past, you will see to it as if it may not be true. That is how you are looking at the things in a critical manner. So historiography is a concept of evaluation in a critical manner. I hope you have understood it. This concept is very simple. Okay, all those things which have happened in the past, we need to verify, we need to test them, and then only include them in the history. Otherwise, there will be many stories about one incident, but the true incident is verified by a historian in a critical evaluation manner and then included in the history. Okay, so I hope that you have understood it. This methodology only is called as historiography. Now the next question which would have come in our mind was, why should we study this? It is very simple. If you want to get the correct history, or if you want to record the correct historical events, then we have to adopt this method or this concept which is called as historiography. Not only that, but it will also help us to understand the chronology of the events, since we will be verifying that with the research and we will be also verifying with the various scientific method. Now chronology is very important. If any events in the history is discovered, then what happens is we would like to know that this event which has been discovered will fit into which part of the history, for which we should exactly know the year. It is not possible for us to know the exact date of that event. So the historians will try to put it in the right place by evaluating, by seeing what was there in the present, what was there before it, and what was there after it. Is it in a correct manner? So then only it is fit into that particular part of history. इसका मतलब क्या होता है? For example, if you have a sequence, okay, if you have got 6, 7 and 8, okay, and between 6 and 8 there is nothing. If 7 is discovered, but you have to put 7, for that you should know what is there before and what is there after, then only you can fit the that particular number into that. In the same way the manners, in the same way the discovery which is done, that will also fit into the chronology of the event. That is the reason historiography, this methodology is used. What is its relationship to all the topic? It is very simple. Every topic in our life, okay, it will have a history. You take it anything, you take arts, you take science, you take technology, you take management, you take arts, or you take any other topics like tourism, media, okay, anything. What you will really have is a background, the past. And whenever there is a past available, whenever you have to evaluate the past critically, you need to utilize this topic, or you need to utilize this concept. This is called as historiography. Okay. So to check and include all the events which has happened in the past into the history, we have to use this concept which is called as historiography. I hope you are clear with the concept of historiography. Okay, I am spending again some time on this. Now let us go down to the next point. Now let me make you understand this topic of historiography with a small example here. Okay, students, as you know that there are various competitions which are conducted, like the singing or dancing competitions on television, like Superstar Singer or Indian Idol. Now, when this type of competitions are held, you might have seen that there are a lot of participants who comes, okay, to compete. But then the judge does not allow all the participants to be in the television. They will scrutinize, or they will evaluate critically all the participants, and they will see the right participant comes on the television. Okay, so that means what they are doing similar to that of historiography. Okay, like the historical research. Okay, like an historical research, these are the participants. They are critically evaluated by the judge. The judge is nothing but the historian, to get the correct history, okay, in an unbiased manner. How the historian does, same way the judge also tries to critically evaluate all the participants and then include them in the competition. Now same method is used, okay, in all the competitions. Similarly, historiography is also applicable to all the topics or events. I hope you have understood these points very clearly. Historiography, please understand this point very clearly, because then only we can go ahead and move ahead and understand other topics in the particular lesson. Now let us move on to the next slide. Okay students, this is the second slide. Why are historical research carried on? The answer is very simple. Historical researches are carried out with an objective to understand the chronology of the past events. Now I have already explained you what is chronology means in detail. Okay, it is a sequence in which we have to put the incidents. We cannot put any incidents in any manner. Historical research is not done in a sequence, proper sequence. You can get any incidents discovered which may be in the 13th century, maybe of 14th century, maybe of 18th century, or maybe very past, before the BCE, that is Anno Domini. Now all these things which are discovered, the scientist will have a challenge, to put these events properly in the sequence. That objective, that is a major objective of carrying out historical research. Okay, and not only that, once you put the event properly in a chronological order, we also need to understand the interconnection of that events with the previous and the one which has happened in the future. So interconnection is also very much important along with chronology of the past. So the answer here will be, the objective here of historical research is to understand the chronology of the past events and the interconnection between them. Let us move on to the next slide. Later on we did how can we verify physical and natural science. We already know that this is not history. Physical and natural science is our science. And when we talk about physical and natural science, how can we verify that? Like historical research, I am telling, critical evaluation is required. So can we apply the same method in science, or does science have some different method? Now here, yes, science has got a different method of verification. What is that method? That method is called as empirical method. Now when we call it as empirical method, the meaning here is, it is a laboratory method of observation and experimentation. It is the same method which you do in your science lab to verify and to evaluate certain parameters for physical and natural science. Now this method will allow us to formulate laws. Okay, the same laws like Newton's law, or we have got Newton's law of gravitation, or this year we are going to learn about in the first chapter itself Kepler's law. So all these laws have been formulated based on the laboratory method, which is observation and experimentation, which we call it as empirical method. These laws which are made, they are true irrespective of time and space. That means they are not going to change after a very long time also, since now whatever Newton's law of gravitation is available, we use that technology, we use that laws particularly for the modern technology also, like sending satellites and sending space ships into the space. We are using that law. That law is not going to change even after 500 or 600 years. That is why we call these laws are true irrespective of time and space. Okay, or later these laws, if the scientists want to test it and prove it repeatedly, that also can be done. Now this is all possible because science and physical natural science, all the things are constant. They are not changing. Okay, we are living in the same atmosphere, we are living in the same type of environment, we are living in the same space. So whatever laws which are made for physical and natural science, they are not going to change. They are going to be there for quite a long period of time, in fact indefinite amount of time. These laws are not going to change. They can be tested, they can be proved, and they will remain true irrespective of time and space. Try to understand this. And now can we apply the same method for empirical method for historical research? Now the query is that now here we can tell that this method, that is empirical method, cannot be used in the historical research. Now what is the reason for that? Is that because we are not present during the historical time and space. We have covered quite a long type of distance in terms of time, and we have moved ahead. Now we can't go back. For going back, we will require a time machine so that we can go back and see the events and then verify it. No, it's not possible for us. So since because this is not the case in science. You understand that? Because the whole atmosphere, everything is constant. Okay, so they can keep on making the laws, or they can verify it. Here we cannot verify it. Here historical events cannot be rather recreated also. We can recreate it on the films on the screen, but they are not true. We all know that. So historical events cannot be recreated. They cannot be. We are not present in the historical time and space. We cannot formulate. That's why the laws, like the empirical method, with the empirical method. Okay, so we cannot make the laws which can remain true irrespective of time and space. So that's a limitation for historical research. Okay, that we cannot use the empirical method which is used in physical and natural science. We cannot use it for historical research. I hope you are very much clear. We understood historiography, and we are seeing why historical research is done. Now we have gone down to understand that what is empirical method and why it cannot be used for historical research. Now let us move on to the next. Now this is quite a bit big, what you call chart, and this chart basically talks about the historical research method. Now in this chart, what you are seeing is few it's like a web diagram, and you are seeing a lot of important informations. But at the center, what you are seeing is writing a historical narrative. Okay, so let me make you understand what is writing of historical narrative is. Okay, student, writing a historical research narrative actually means that once any historical excavation or historical finding is done, the scientist will follow certain methodology, and at the end of it he will make his comments, or he will make his notes. So that is a procedure basically. So how does this procedure moves around? Let us analyze it. For this we have to imagine as if we are an historian who has got a lot of who has done an excavation in a remote place, and then we have discovered a lot of weapons and some skeletons which has got buried inside the ground. Now how to write a historical narrative of this, you have to imagine in that way, then only you will be able to understand this properly. So, first we will start with, you will see a lot of web diagrams, you will see a lot of rounds here, but the round from where we have to start here is, the first one is the critical evaluation. Okay. Now, when we talk about critical evaluation, what does it mean? We have to see the we have to critically evaluate the source. When we start critically evaluating the source, we are trying to find out whether the source of this information is true or false. Okay, sometimes even the source, the starting point only is the wrong. We dig it at a place which is not the correct one. Okay, so we have to dig it at a place which is correct in terms of the source of finding, whether it is an oral, whether it is a written, whether it is a material source. You have to critically evaluate first the source of history. Followed by that, what you have to do is, you have to also examine the relevant references which are available, okay, from the historical references. For example, like once we have discovered these weapons, we should have certain evaluatory standards. Okay, now that evaluatory standards are like, we can have, like we have got to measure, if you have to understand acid and base, then you should have some indicators, like we should have a litmus paper or a phenolphthalein. That is what is the relevant references. So we can find out with these references whether whatever information we have to get, how can we prove it. So after the critical evaluation of sources, we need to examine the relevant references, okay, with proper historical information, which are available historical information. And we have to prove that yes, whatever we have discovered, yes, it may be true, because these are the references that which says that so many arms and so many people were buried inside this particular place. So that is what is historical information. The third one is that whatever information we collect, we need to analyze we should make a comparative analysis of it. Okay, because whatever information we have got, we cannot directly tell that it is correct. So comparative analysis has to be made, okay, which has led to this historical transition. Then comes the understanding references with T and S. Now here that word T and S is time and space. Now here also you have to have some references with time and space, but here the methodology which you are using is called as conceptual framework. When we talk about conceptual framework, it is nothing but an analytical tool, okay, to capture the real events. Now when we talk about conceptual method, it is nothing but a framework of method or a methodology which will have proper it will have a properly a method by which the scientist will follow this particular method. Now conceptual framework, if you have to understand, the best way to understand here is, like for example, if you have statistics, what you do is, whatever information you get, you put it in a proper tabular manner. When you put it in a proper tabular manner, then only you will be able to understand the things properly. The same way, conceptual framework, the scientist will put all the information he has got in a cyclic manner, and then at the end he will get some information. Whatever information he will get after putting all the information in conceptual manner, it will come down, the scientist will once again ask RQ, that is relevant questions to it. See how much scrutinization is done for an historical research. Okay, why these all procedures are repeated by the scientist again and again is basically to get the correct thing out of it. Okay, it should not be wrong, because if you are learning wrong history, it is not a proper thing. So whatever information is there, it has to pass through various procedure, and towards the end the scientist will formulate a hypothesis. So this is how the entire procedure of historical research method is done. So we started with what? We started with the critical evaluation of source of history. Okay, then we went down to relevant references, examining the historical research done with relevant references. Okay, and then we moved down to, we highlight the process in which what we are doing is, we are doing a comparative analysis of the historical transition, and then we went down to the conceptual framework method, by in which the scientist is going to put all his informations and then get the zest out of it, and there you will then again he is going to ask, formulate some questions, tough questions to that research, so that he can get the exact information about that particular event, and then later on he can formulate the hypothesis. So it's very easy to understand this. Only thing is that you need to imagine from the point of view of a scientist. Okay, how a scientist might think, how a scientist will think about this research method, and how he is going to work around. So this is how you can get the answers properly. Okay, so let us move on to the next slide. Okay, students, next slide is it's a representation. It's an example for you to understand what is conceptual framework. I know, however, I have explained you, there might be some type of doubt. Now you can see how this methodology works. The conceptual framework is nothing but, see, which are the various procedure which has to be followed. It is like a sequence, which you need to follow. Like for the morning, if you get up, you don't go and directly eat your food, right? What you do is you go for the brushing of your teeth, you freshen up, and then you go for the breakfast. So there is a sequence of doing things, and once there is a standard sequence of doing things which has been finalized, most of the scientists will follow this same conceptual framework. Okay, same way, if you see any construction work which is going in the for the building, we never see that any brickwork is done first. We always seen that there is something, what they do is they will try to dig up the ground, they will try to create the base of the building first, then they will continue with the pillars, and then later on the brickwork takes place. So there is a perfect methodology which the scientists also use, okay, for evaluating and re-evaluating all the historical process. Now here you can see all the threatened species, how they get converted to extinct species. Now the black arrow here is basically shown that this is the method which has been evaluated, or this is the correct method which has been evaluated till now. Other methods are still to be evaluated, so they are all grey in color. So the scientist can use any of this methodology, and they have to work upon any of the discoveries. So this is how conceptual framework works. Now let us move on to the next one. What are the requirements for historical research? When we talk about the requirements of historical research, okay, we should require a proper historian. We call him as an expert who should have the knowledge of the language and script. Why he should have a knowledge of language and script? Then only he will be able to read and understand the historical documents. Another point for the expert is that an expert is the one who can examine the authenticity. The authenticity is the whether it is true, whether it is correct or wrong. Okay, that is what is the advantage. Okay, now next one is you can see an historian is also required who can scrutinize the historical research. Now when you talk about authenticity, here the authenticity means that whenever we go down to a person who checks the gold, okay, when you go to a goldsmith, he will not immediately take the gold which we provide and consider that it is true, consider that it is authentic. He is going to pass it through various checks. Okay, he will check it, and then only he can find out the authenticity. Same way, an expert also will check the authenticity of the historical documents. Like he may check about various things. He may check about the lettering style. He may check about other criteria like manufacturing date. He may see the type of paper. He may see the stamp of authority. Then only that is how the criteria are considered of an expert. Historians also further will scrutinize the historical researchers with historical references. Okay, they will have references. They will know that in this particular period this type of lettering style exists, or this type of stamps were used, or this type of paper was used. So they have a reference with them. So they will try to see it with the references and correct it and check it. Okay, students, I think you are understanding this all procedure. This is all historiography only. Okay, so what is the requirement? The first requirement for a person to evaluate the things, historical research or historiography, is we will require an expert who has got the knowledge of language and script to understand the historical documents. Then he should be able to examine the authenticity with different types of criteria like lettering style, or the paper type, or the author style of writing. okay, or the stamp of authority, then later on we will see that historians can also scrutinize the with historical references. Now let us move on to the next slide. Okay, these are what is historical experts photographies. You can see how they try to evaluate all these things by properly understanding. Here you can see the types of different types of foods which are been evaluated by, this is during the Mughal times, how different types of foods were evaluated. So these are all the pictures of the historical experts who are evaluating the things. Okay, let us move on to the next slide. Which are the various useful disciplines in historical research? The first discipline which experts should have is the lettering style. Okay, the next one comes to as linguistic. The third one is epigraphy. The fourth one is manuscriptology. Then archival science, archaeology, numismatics, and genealogy. There is a spelling mistake here. Numismatic, it is numismatics. Okay, now let us see what all these things means. The first one is lettering style. You all know the different lettering styles which were used during the Marathas time. There was a type of script which was used, was called as a Modi script. This script or this signifies the period which the Marathas lived in. So lettering style is one which will give you a lot of information about in historical research. Then we have got linguistic, that is a language. Okay, a person who will know a lot of different languages. The person who has got a knowledge of lettering style, the person who has got the information of various languages. Epigraphy basically is the study of inscriptions. Okay, so various inscription study. The one person will be there, will be an expert in learning or giving information about inscriptions. Another is manuscriptology. They are ancient documents, may be written on the Bhojpatras. Okay, and very ancient what you call documents. We call this as manuscriptology. Archival science, archives are nothing but we already know that they are documents which have been preserved since so many years, official documents. So archival science is the person who knows about these documents properly. Archaeology is the excavation which is done and try to find out about various excavations. Archaeology is the science of that. Person should be an expert in that. Numismatic is the study of coins. And the last one is genealogy, where you try to understand the lineage. Lineage means the father, the son, and his son, and then his son, or same way in the back manners also. We should be knowing that Shivaji Maharaj was there. His father was Shahaji Maharaj. His son was Sambhaji Maharaj, and then we can move down and understand the entire genealogy of the lineage. So that is what we are going to. Okay, so let us practice now these all things once again. Okay, students, this is a slide which will give you and you can see a visual effect of whatever we have just now done. You can see the first one is a lettering style. You can see a different type of lettering style being used here. So this can be compared and historical references can be found out by the historians to check on that it is from which century or from maybe from which year or in whose dynasty this lettering style was used. You can see an archival science, you can see archives which have been kept here. All the important historical documents, they are kept in a proper manner, they are arranged and they are kept in a tabular manner. You can see a manuscript here, okay, which is an ancient manuscript. Then we have got numismatics, that is the study of the coins. Here you can see archaeology, that is excavations which are done here. And then towards the end we are seeing here, this is nothing but the epigraphy, that is the study of inscriptions. So this is, you can get an idea about what you have just now read it. Okay, so just revise. L stands here for what? It stands for, you try to understand this, you have to memorize it simultaneously. L stands here for what? A lettering style. Okay, the next L here stands for what? There are two L here simultaneously. The next one is, it is not a lineage, it is what? After lettering style, it is nothing but the linguistic. Next one is what? The next one is what? The next one is E. What you have to understand for E? E here means what? Epigraphy. M means manuscriptology. A stands here for what? Archival science. Another A stands here for what? Archaeology. N stands for numismatic. That is the study of coins. And then last one is G, this is genealogy. So what you have to remember here is, what I have arranged it is in, if you remember the short form LIMANG, okay, where double L is there, E, then M, and AANG, Limang, if you remember, then you will be able to get all these disciplines which are very, very useful in the historical research. Now let us move on to the next slide. What is historiography? We have already learned it in detail. Historiography is nothing but the writing of critical historical narrative. Okay, when you are writing a critical historical narrative of what? Of all the historical research. Okay, you have to examine the historical source. You have to critically examine all the historical researches, and when the person writes all this critical historical narrative, we call it as historiography. Okay, and the scholar who writes such a narrative is called as what? He is called as a historian. So a scholar who writes such a narrative is called as a historian. So critical historical narrative. Don't by heart it. Try to understand. I have explained each and every word meaning here. Okay, so if you have to go through the YouTube videos again and again, you have to listen to it properly to understand what is taught to you. Okay, let us go down to the next one. What criteria a historian used to include the past event in the narratives? Okay, so no, not every event are included in the historiography. Okay, let me be very clear. Historians are not like whatever is been told. हाँ ये event हुआ in this particular year, so they will directly take it. No, ऐसा नहीं होता है. They will not take any event which is shown to us by anyone. Okay, you know that they will critically evaluate it. They will the inclusion and the interpretation will depend upon that conceptual framework which I have shown you, that standard method, standard operating procedure which they have to follow. They will go and follow that method, conceptual framework, and then only they will come out with the conclusion whether this historical event has to be included or not. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? Not every event is included in the history. Okay. Okay, CF means what? The conceptual framework. The conceptual framework will determine. The conceptual framework. Which scientist will take which conceptual framework will determine the style of writing. Okay, will determine his style of writing. Okay, so all these things are very simple. You have to understand. You have to write it down. These questions in a question and answer formula, because this is questions and the back point are answers. So same way you have to study in the exams also. Explain the prevalence of historiography during the ancient times. Now, do ancient people have the knowledge about historiography? The answer is no. They did not have any idea about historiography as such. But yes, these ancient societies were aware of the historical time and historical time, and they were also eager to know about the past. But their past they cannot evaluate and take it, no? Like we can do it today. Okay, with modern technology, with scientific technology. Those people, though they were aware, but they were not able to make this historiography. But one thing they did very nicely was they felt the need to pass on at least their stories of life and value to the people, okay, of the next generation. So what they were able to do is they were able to preserve these stories, okay, preserve their stories of life and value by various methods. Now, what are the methods they used? One was cave painting, as we already know that Bhimbedka painting which were done by the ancient people, storytelling, singing songs and ballets. These are all oral methods. So they try to preserve what has happened in the past and pass it on to the next generation for us, okay, so that we can take it. So we have evaluated everything and we have taken it in the history. So historiography was not prevalent during the ancient times, but yes, these ancient people, they were aware of the time, historical time, and they also had a need to pass on their stories of life and value to the people of next generation. So they did it in various methods which we have generally seen. Okay, now let us move on to the next slide. So here you can see the ancient people here. We know what is there. There is a war-like situation, so they have painted it and kept it. Okay, you can see an Egyptian pictures which is also been shown. You can see in the down, you can see a lot of boats. These are of Western culture. The British and the European people, they come down to do business. So they have shown the big ships these people were having to do trade and business. So this is what these people, they try to communicate to you from the past. They did not have any video shooting or to keep all these things intact. So what they have done is they have drawn such pictures to us and given us. Okay. Now let us see what is the homework we are going to do. In the homework section, we are going to see that you have to write the question and answers format which I had already given in this in this video, you have to see each and every questions, write it down, make a note of it in your notebook. Okay, read the lessons for better understanding at least once or twice at least. Learn the question and answers from the topics done. You have got ample time. You can just learn the question and answers also simultaneously, so that whenever we go for a small test like things, you're all prepared for it. So I hope you have understood this video properly. Now I have been pictorially representing you all these slides, so I hope you will understand it better. Whatever comments you have to put it and you have to try and inform me about the things, okay, what changes has to be made. But I hope this is much more clear than whatever we have done in the past. Okay, so every time there will be improvement. I will try to show you some videos also, so that you can automatically understand, but that will be towards the end of the chapter. Okay, so till then let's meet you next time. Okay, be safe, stay home. Okay, thank you very much.